The mockery. The great galactic council chamber was filled with laughter, the sound echoing across the high metal walls like cruel thunder. Aliens of many shapes and sizes leaned back in their seats, their strange faces twisted with mocking smiles. They were not laughing at one another. No, they were laughing at Earth. On the giant holographic screen in the center, the image of a small human ship was displayed. Compared to the monstrous alien warships, the human vessel looked fragile, like a wooden boat floating in a storm. The alien delegates shook their heads and sneered. "Is this all the humans have?" One reptilian warlord said, his sharp teeth glinting in the light. "A child's toy unfit for war." A bird-like alien, her wings folded tight against her back, leaned forward and tapped her claw against the desk. Pathetic, so weak, I thought. Humans were supposed to be clever, but this is all they can build. Laughter roared again, wave after wave. Some slammed their fists on the desks. Others whistled in mock celebration. They believed humanity was defenseless. They believed Earth had no teeth. In the back of the chamber, Admiral Holt sat in silence. He was the only human allowed to witness this trial of strength. His uniform was plain compared to the bright robes and armor of the aliens, but his eyes held something none of them noticed: patience and a quiet smile that never reached. His lips, the council leader, a towering insectoid with golden armor plates, raised his arms. "Brothers and sisters of the galaxy, today we confirm it. Humanity is no threat. They beg to join our order, but look at their ships. Fragile, weak, laughable. They cannot defend even their own system." More laughter followed. Some delegates were already planning how to divide Earth's resources, how to strip its oceans, its minerals, its skies. To them, humanity was nothing but prey. But outside, in the cold emptiness of space, those small human ships stood still, lined like soldiers waiting in silence. Alien fleets surrounded them on every side. 100 warships, massive cruisers, destroyers, and dreadnoughts pointed their guns at the humans. Inside the council chamber, a projection flickered, showing the alien blockade around Earth's vessels. One alien general chuckled. "Look at them, not even moving, frozen in fear, waiting for us to crush them. Why waste energy?" Another said, "One volley and they will surrender. Humans are simple creatures. They value life too much. They will not fight." Admiral Holt finally spoke, his voice calm but strong. "You have judged us without battle. You laugh at us without knowing us. History has taught humanity one thing: those who laugh first often do not laugh last." The chamber grew quiet for a moment. Some aliens frowned, others hissed at him to be silent, but Holt did not lower his gaze. His eyes stayed locked on the massive screen on the little human ships waiting in the void. "Your words are empty," the insectoid leader snapped. "Your ships will burn in minutes, and the galaxy will forget you." But Holt only leaned back, a faint smile tugging at his lips. He whispered under his breath, so soft only the recording device caught it. "If only you knew what waits in the dark." The alien fleets prepared. Their weapons' engines glowed, cannons charged, missiles armed. The entire galaxy seemed ready to witness Earth's humiliation. In hidden corners of the chamber, alien reporters adjusted their devices, eager to send images of humanity's destruction across every star system. And yet, on Earth's side, there was no panic, no plea, no desperate cry for mercy. The human ships remained still, silent, their guns cold, their engines quiet. They looked like prey, but their silence carried a weight no alien could understand. One alien officer smirked. "This is the end of the human dream." But Admiral Holt's eyes shone with a strange light. He knew the truth. He knew what the galaxy had not yet seen. And while the council chamber filled again with cruel laughter, a storm was already moving, unseen, unstoppable, waiting for the right moment to arrive. The galaxy thought this was comedy, the fall of an insignificant species, but the humans knew this was only the opening act. And when the curtain rose on the next scene, the laughter of the galaxy would turn into screams. The trap. The vast emptiness of space was never truly silent. Energy fields hummed, weapons charged, and thousands of alien eyes watched the tiny formation of human ships. The trap was set, and The entire galaxy believed Earth had walked right into it. The alien fleets spread out in a wide circle, warships forming a cage around the humans. Their cannons glowed bright, hungry for destruction. Inside the Galactic Council chamber, the delegates leaned forward in their seats, eyes gleaming with cruel excitement. "This is where it ends," said a scaled alien commander, his voice full of pride. "One volley and Earth will kneel." The insectoid leader of the council raised his clawed hand, giving the signal, and all across the void, alien weapons locked onto their targets, each gun pointed at the fragile human vessels. Admiral Holt, sitting in the back of the chamber, remained calm, his face unreadable. The human ships on the screen looked hopeless, dwarfed by the colossal alien fleets. They were outnumbered 100 to 1. Any other species would have begged for mercy by now. But instead of panic, there was silence. The human ships stood still, engines cold, weapons dark. Not a single move to defend themselves. The alien generals laughed. "See? They are frozen. They cannot even decide what to do." Another delegate added, "They will surrender soon. Their fear will break them." Yet on the human flagship, Captain Rivera stood at the command deck, her eyes locked on the tactical display. Around her, her crew moved with disciplined calm. No shouts, no fear, only steady breathing and silent readiness. "Hold position," Rivera said softly, her voice calm but sharp as steel. Her officers nodded. None of them questioned the order, even though enemy warships surrounded them from every direction. The trap was meant to crush them, but Rivera knew something the aliens did not. The alien fleets grew impatient. Their commanders wanted to end this quickly. One shouted across the comms, his voice filled with arrogance, "Humans, you are surrounded, you have no chance. Surrender now and perhaps your world will be spared." There was no reply. The human fleet stayed silent, their comm channels closed, their faces hidden from alien eyes. Back in the council chamber, the silence felt strange. A few delegates shifted uncomfortably. They expected cries, panic, pleas, but none came. Instead, the humans waited as if the cage around them did not matter. "What game are they playing?" One alien whispered. "They have no game." Another answered, "They are simply terrified." But Admiral Holt smiled faintly. He knew the truth. Humans were not terrified. They were waiting. The council leader slammed his claw against the desk. "End this now. Show the galaxy what happens when prey dares to stand among hunters." The command was sent, and in an instant, the void lit up. Alien cannons unleashed a storm of plasma and fire. Missiles streaked through the blackness. Energy beams tore across. The sky, the galaxy itself seemed to burn. For a few moments, it looked as if the humans had been swallowed whole. Their ships vanished in the sea of explosions. The council chamber erupted with cheers. The aliens celebrated before the dust had. "Even cleared, done!" A warlord roared, "The humans are finished." But then the smoke began to fade and the cheering slowed. The holographic display showed something impossible. The human ships were still there, their hulls glowing faintly, shields shimmering, but intact. What is this?" One alien stammered, "They survived?" The laughter in the chamber died, replaced by silence, the kind of silence that felt heavy, threatening. On the human flagship, Captain Rivera gave her first real command, her voice sharp. Shields held. Enemy weapons mapped, all ships hold steady. Her second officer looked at her, awe in his eyes. "Captain, they don't know. They think this was all we had." Rivera nodded slowly. "Exactly. Let them believe. The longer they think we are weak, the deeper they fall into our trap." Back in the chamber, Admiral Holt leaned forward, his smile faint but cold. He whispered, "You think this is the end, but you've only walked into the beginning." The alien fleets reorganized, preparing for another strike, but already cracks of doubt spread among them. Their easy prey had survived the strongest opening barrage. Humans had not begged, not broken, they had endured, and above all, they were still waiting. The trap was not for the humans, it was for the galaxy. The aliens thought they had cornered Earth. But soon they would realize the cage was closing around them. Admiral Holt's eyes glimmered as he thought of the fleets waiting just beyond the edge of known space. hidden, silent, ready to arrive. He could almost hear the echo of engines roaring to life, the sound that would turn laughter into fear. The council chamber fell quiet again, the weight of unease pressing down on every delegate, even the insectoid. Leader shifted uncomfortably in his seat, though he tried to keep his voice strong. Fire again, break them. But deep inside, every alien watching felt the same chill. For the first time, they wondered if the joke was on them. The galaxy had set the trap, but the bait had teeth, and soon, the hunters would discover they were the prey. The first strike. The second volley of alien fire lit up the black sky like a burning storm. Plasma beams streaked across the void, missiles screamed forward, and cannons spat fire until the darkness itself seemed to shatter. The alien fleets poured everything they had into the tiny human formation. But when the chaos cleared, the human ships were still there, their hulls glowing but unbroken, their shields rippling with light. The impossible had happened twice. Inside the Galactic Council chamber, silence fell like a blade. No one laughed. Now no one sneered. Their eyes were wide, their voices caught in their throats. How are they still standing? Hissed a lizard-skinned general, his claws digging into the desk. They cannot endure forever. Another argued, his feathers trembling. It must be a trick, some desperate defense. But Admiral Holt knew better. He leaned back in his seat, his face calm, his eyes steady. He knew this was not desperation, it was discipline, patience, and preparation. On the human flagship, Captain Rivera stood tall, her voice cutting through the air. Weapons online. Her officers moved like lightning. Controls lit up, targeting systems locked, cannons hummed with growing energy. For so long they had held their fire, letting the aliens believe the lie, letting them grow arrogant. Now the time had come to answer. Rivera raised her hand, then gave the order the galaxy would never forget. First strike, fire. In the next instant, space itself screamed. Human cannons unleashed beams so sharp they cut through the void like lightning. Torpedoes streaked out in perfect arcs, and kinetic rail slugs fired with earth-shattering force. First target was a massive alien dreadnought, a warship so feared its name alone silenced lesser fleets. One moment it stood proud, glowing with shield energy. The next, a rail slug tore through its heart. Shields collapsed, armor split, and the ship exploded in a sun-bright fireball. The council chamber gasped, the explosion's light reflecting. In 1,000 alien eyes, disbelief twisted into horror. No, that's impossible, whispered one insectoid commander, his voice breaking. That ship was unstoppable. But the humans were not done. Their formation moved with perfect coordination, each vessel firing in rhythm, each strike timed like a drumbeat of war. Another alien cruiser went down, its engines ripped apart by human torpedoes. Then a destroyer fell, its hull cracked open by laser fire. The galaxy had expected humans to scatter, to run, to cry out for mercy, but instead they attacked with precision. No wasted fire, no hesitation. Their weapons cut through alien fleets like knives through paper. On the council floor, chaos erupted. Some shouted for reinforcements, others demanded explanations, but Holt remained silent, watching the screen as his people showed the truth the galaxy had denied for too long. Humans were not weak. They were not prey. They were predators who had hidden their claws until the right moment. The alien commanders in space panicked, their voices filled with fear. Close ranks. Close ranks. Do not let them break the line. But it was too late. The line was already breaking. Human ships darted between the massive alien vessels, using speed and maneuverability no one had expected. A single human frigate slipped under a cruiser's shields and fired point blank. The explosion tore the larger ship apart from the inside. Each alien warship that fell sent ripples of shock across the fleets. Discipline cracked, fear spread. Captains shouted over one another, and suddenly the predators felt the cold edge of terror on the flagship. Rivera's second officer whispered, awe in his voice. They thought we were nothing, now they see. Rivera's eyes never left the display, her voice steady as stone. This is only the beginning. They still do not know what waits beyond this field. Hold formation. Keep them afraid. Every strike was a message. Every explosion, A warning. Humanity had been underestimated for too long, and now the galaxy would pay for its arrogance. In the council chamber, the insectoid leader slammed his claws against the desk, trying to silence the chaos. This cannot be real. No, human fleet exists with such power. This must be a trick. But Admiral Holt finally spoke, his voice calm and cold. No trick, no illusion, only truth, and you are watching it with your own eyes. Another alien ship erupted on the screen, its fireball lighting up the faces of the council delegates. Their earlier laughter was gone, replaced by fear, and in that fear Holt saw victory already beginning. One alien general whispered what many were thinking. If this is just a handful of their ships, what else are they hiding? Holt's eyes glimmered with a knowing light, but he said nothing. Some secrets were meant to be revealed only when the galaxy was ready to tremble. In space, the first strike ended. Dozens of alien ships floated in, ruins, smoke, and fire spreading across the void. But the humans were untouched, their formation still tight, their silence more terrifying than any war cry. And for the first time, the galaxy understood a terrible truth. The humans had not come to survive. They had come to win. The trap was closing, and the hunters had just realized they were the prey. The shadows appear. The battlefield was lit with fire. Broken alien warships drifted like shattered bones across the void, their flames glowing against the black sky. The human fleet, small in number, outmatched on paper, still stood untouched. Their formation tight, their weapons cooling after the first strike. The galaxy was silent. The laughter from before had vanished. The council chamber was filled not with mocking voices but with fearful whispers. Delegates leaned forward, eyes wide, struggling to believe what they had just witnessed. They destroyed dreadnoughts, one alien gasped. With a single strike, dreadnoughts. Another stammered. Their weapons should not even exist. Admiral Holt sat calm in his seat, his hands folded, his gaze locked on the holographic display. He knew this was not the climax. It was only the opening act. On the human flagship, Captain Rivera studied. Her crew, their faces hard, their breath steady. Report, she ordered, all systems holding. Her tactical officer replied, shield stable, no casualties. Enemy? Rivera asked. 58 ships disabled or destroyed, the officer said, awe slipping into his tone. The rest, regrouping, but they're shaken, Captain. Rivera nodded slowly. Good, let them think this is our full hand. She paused, her eyes dark with certainty. They still have not seen what waits in the dark. Her words carried across the command deck, quiet but heavy. Every crew member understood. This battle was not just about survival, it was about revelation. Out in the void, alien fleets tried to recover. Captains shouted across broken comms. Their formations shattered, their morale bleeding away. But arrogance was a poison, and some still clung to it. Press the attack, an alien commander roared, his face twisted with rage. They are few. Their strength is spent. Crush them before they fire again. But as their fleets pushed forward, something else stirred in the distance. At first it was faint, just ripples. Across sensors, small distortions in the fabric of space, the alien ships dismissed them as static battlefield interference. But the ripples grew. On the human flagship, Rivera's sensor officer whispered, Ma'am, we have contacts. How? Many? Rivera asked, her voice flat, though her heart knew the answer. The officer's eyes widened as he stared at the screen. Too many to count. The stars themselves seemed to shiver. And then it began, one by one. Massive warp signatures ignited. Across the void. Like thunder rolling across the black heavens, shadows emerged from hyperspace. Vast shapes stepping out of the dark. Colossal human warships, each larger than the last. The first to arrive were carriers, their hulls bristling with guns, their bays opening like jaws. Swarms of smaller craft poured out, fighter wings blazing to life. Then came the dreadnoughts. Enormous beasts of steel and fire, their cannons so large they looked like mountains carved for war. Their engines glowed with furious power as they took position. Finally, the battleships appeared. Sleek, deadly. Built not to intimidate but to kill, they slid into formation with the smaller human vessels, their silence heavier than any war cry. In the council chamber, Horror spread like a disease. Alien. Delegates rose to their feet, some trembling, some shouting in disbelief. "Impossible!" cried a feathered dignitary, his wings trembling. This fleet was never reported." "They were hiding them," hissed another. "All this time in the shadows." The insectoid leader slammed his claws on the desk, his voice shaking for the first time. No species could hide such power. No one could. But Admiral Holt finally spoke, his voice calm and cold. "You laughed because you only saw what we wanted you to see." On the battlefield, the alien fleets faltered, their sensors screaming with endless new contacts, their formations collapsing under the weight of terror. They realized now the truth. The small human ships had never been the fleet. They had been bait, a distraction to lure the galaxy's arrogance into one place. The real fleet had been waiting, hidden in the void, silent hunters waiting for the signal to strike. From the command deck, Captain Rivera's voice rang out, steady and sharp. "All ships, join formation, weapons hot, target priority, dreadnoughts and carriers." The massive human fleet shifted into place, their engines glowing like stars, their weapons charging with thunderous light. The void itself seemed to hum with energy. The alien commanders screamed over their comms, panic breaking their discipline. "Pull back! Pull back! This is not possible!" But retreat was too late. The trap had already closed. But retreat was too late. The trap had already closed. The humans advanced, their dreadnoughts firing first, cannons so powerful they tore through shields like paper. Alien ships erupted in blossoms of fire, fleets shattered in seconds. Fighter wings swarmed across the battlefield, darting between cruisers, disabling engines, destroying weapon arrays. Chaos spread faster than any order could contain. In the council chamber, fear turned to dread. The delegates realized what Holt had known all along. Humanity had not been defenseless, they had been patient, building in silence, hiding their strength, waiting for the day when the galaxy's laughter would choke in their throats. Rivera stood firm, her voice a steady blade. "Show them who we are." And the shadows obeyed. The true human fleet moved as one, each strike precise, each blow fatal. The galaxy watched in horror as their arrogance burned before their eyes. The humans had revealed themselves, and the stars would never be the same again. The counterattack. The battlefield was no longer balanced. The moment the hidden human fleet arrived, the galaxy's trap shattered into chaos. Alien warships that once circled confidently now scattered, like prey in panic, their proud formations broken, their discipline bleeding away into fear. Human dreadnoughts advanced slowly, their massive hulls glowing like burning mountains. Each cannon blast shook the void, tearing alien shields apart as if they were glass. One alien carrier tried to retreat, engines burning at full power, but a single rail slug from a human battleship punched through its core. The ship split in half, exploding into a ball of fire. From the command deck of her flagship, Captain Rivera's voice carried like iron. "All squadrons, execute strike pattern Valkyrie. Leave nothing standing." Her words unleashed a storm. Fighters swarmed into the chaos, their wings cutting. Across the darkness like sharp blades, they weaved between alien ships, dropping torpedoes with pinpoint accuracy. One destroyer after another went silent, their engines ripped apart, their bridges burning. The alien commanders shouted across broken comm channels, their voices filled with panic. "Regroup, form lines, hold the center." But there was no center left to hold. Every time the aliens tried to gather, a wave of human cruisers struck, scattering them apart. Every time they tried to form a wall, a dreadnought cannon shattered it. In the Galactic Council chamber, the delegates no longer argued, they no longer laughed. They only watched in stunned silence as the impossible unfolded before their eyes. Their fleets, their pride, their so-called invincible armadas, were being cut down like grass before the storm. One delegate whispered, his voice trembling, This is not a battle, it is slaughter." Another buried his head in his claws, muttering, "We never understood them, we mocked them, and now they are rewriting the stars." But Admiral Holt remained calm, his hands folded, his eyes never leaving the display. This was not joy, not even satisfaction. It was inevitability. Humanity had always known this day would come. On the battlefield, A squadron of alien cruisers tried one last desperate push, targeting the smaller human frigates at the rear. Plasma beams lit up the darkness, but before they could land a killing blow, human battleships shifted, shields interlocking, protecting the smaller ships, and then a counter volley ripped through the attackers. 3 alien cruisers fell silent in seconds. The coordination was terrifying. Humans moved not as scattered ships, but as a single living organism. Every vessel connected, every strike perfectly timed. No alien fleet had ever fought like this. From her command chair, Rivera's eyes blazed. Do not let them breathe, keep pressing. The more they panic, the faster they fall. Her crew obeyed without hesitation. Human destroyers swept forward, unleashing volleys of kinetic slugs. Alien. Shields cracked, armor ripped, and more wreckage floated across the void. An alien admiral screamed over the comms, his voice broken. This cannot be happening. They were weak, they were nothing. But deep inside, he already knew the truth. They had been fools blinded by arrogance, laughing at prey that had sharper teeth than any predator in the galaxy. On Earth, billions watched the transmissions in silence. Their breath held. For years they had been told their world was vulnerable, their ships too small, their weapons too weak. But now, across every screen, every channel, the truth was clear. Humanity was not the hunted. They were the hunters. In the council chamber, the insectoid leader tried to roar above the chaos. Send reinforcements, call every fleet, crush them. But one delegate, his voice shaking, replied, Reinforcements will only die. Can you not see? They are not just fighting us, and they are teaching us fear. Holt finally leaned forward, his voice calm but heavy. The galaxy's mistake was not underestimating our weapons. It was underestimating our will. Back in the void, alien ships broke and fled, engines burning as they tried to escape. But humans pursued with ruthless precision. Fighters hunted down stragglers. Battleships cut off retreat paths. There would be no mercy. Not after centuries of mockery. Not after years of being dismissed as weak. One alien captain begged over the comms, his voice desperate. Mercy! Please show mercy. But Rivera gave no reply. Her silence was the answer, and her fleet pressed on. The counterattack was relentless, human warships sweeping across the void like a tide of fire. Every alien loss sent shockwaves of terror across the stars, and soon even those who had mocked the loudest were silent. The laughter that once echoed in the council chamber had turned into gasps and whispers. The galaxy was watching the birth of something it could not stop, something it could not control. Humanity's fleet burned bright across the stars, and every alien watching knew a terrible truth. The age of underestimating Earth was over. The counterattack was not just victory. It was a message, and that message was clear. Humanity had arrived, and they would never be laughed at again. The year, revelation. The battle was no longer in question. The alien fleets were broken, their proud formations scattered into fire and wreckage. Human dreadnoughts advanced like giants, their shadows stretching across the void, while fighters swarmed the last survivors, hunting down any ship that still dared to fight. Inside the Galactic Council chamber, silence reigned. No laughter, no arrogance, only shock. Delegates who once mocked humans now sat pale and trembling, their voices stolen by the horror they were witnessing. They hid this fleet, whispered one delegate, her voice unsteady. How could they hide this from us? Another slammed his clawed hand against the desk, his fear spilling into rage. No, they tricked us. They deceived the galaxy. Admiral Holt finally rose from his seat, the only human in the chamber, his face calm, his voice sharp. We did not trick you. You tricked yourselves. You wanted to believe we were weak, so we let you. Every alien eye turned to him, some filled with anger, some with fear, some with respect they could not admit aloud. Holt's voice carried across the vast chamber, steady as iron. For centuries you mocked Earth. You called us fragile. You called us prey. And all the while, we built in silence, we watched, we prepared. We knew this day would come. On the battlefield, Captain Rivera listened to the comm feeds from the council, her jaw tight, her voice cold. Send the message to all fleets. No more silence. It is time they hear the truth. Her communication Officer nodded, and moments later, across the council chamber, a new transmission filled the air. Rivera herself appearing on the massive holographic screen, her face stern, her uniform marked with battle-worn steel. "This is Captain Rivera of the Terran fleet," her voice thundered, echoing through the hall. "You asked how we hid our ships, how we built in secret. Hear the truth, Galaxy. Hear the truth you refuse to see." She leaned forward, her eyes like fire. "You looked at our world and saw weakness. But we saw lessons. Every war, every invasion, every hardship we suffered taught us one thing. Never let arrogance blind you. Never show your hand until the moment is right." Her words struck like weapons. Delegates shifted uneasily in their seats, their pride bleeding into shame. Rivera continued, her voice sharp. "While you laughed, we worked. While you called us fragile, we built weapons that could stand against giants. While you mocked, we prepared for the day when your laughter would turn into silence." The insectoid leader of the council rose, his voice shaking though he tried to sound strong. "You cannot do this. You cannot destroy fleets without consequence. The galaxy will unite against you." But Rivera's lips curved into the faintest smile, a smile without warmth. "Unite? You are already broken. Your fleets lie in ruins. Your pride burns in the stars. What will you unite with? Fear?" The chamber grew still again. No one could deny her words. Admiral Holt stepped forward, his voice calm. "The revelation is simple. We were never what you thought. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was waiting. We did not need your approval. We did not need your mercy. We only needed time." And now, the galaxy realized what that time had created. Back in the void, the full Terran fleet stretched across the stars, their numbers dwarfing anything the Council had ever seen. Carriers launching endless squadrons, dreadnoughts firing with merciless rhythm, cruisers weaving through the chaos with precise strikes. It was not just power, it was discipline, it was unity. An alien commander watching his last ships fall whispered to himself, "They fight like one mind, one will. This is not war, this is judgment." On the council floor, some delegates collapsed into their seats trembling, the memory of their mocking laughter now heavy chains of shame. Rivera's voice thundered once more through the chamber. This battle was never about territory, never about conquest. This was about respect. The respect you denied us. The respect you thought we would never claim. Well, now you see us. Now you know us. And now you will never forget us. The insectoid leader hissed, his pride crumbling. "So this is your revelation, that humans are predators?" Holt shook his head, his eyes sharp. "No, our revelation is this. We do not fight because we want to. We fight because we must. When threatened, humanity unites. And when united, nothing in this galaxy can stop us." The chamber fell silent. Again, the weight of his words pressing down on every alien present. They realized too late the truth. Humanity's strength was never in numbers, never in weapons alone. It was in their will, their unbreakable will to survive, to rise, to strike. Back out in space, as the last alien warship exploded, the human fleet slowed, their guns cooling, their engines dimming. Victory was theirs, and the galaxy knew it. The revelation was complete. Humanity had shown its true face, and the stars would never be the same. Again, the silence. The battlefield grew quiet. The thunder of cannons and the storm of explosions faded. Only wreckage remained. Broken alien ships drifting like corpses across the black sea of stars, their fires dimming one by one. The human fleet, vast and terrible, stood in formation, their weapons cooling, their engines pulsing like steady heartbeats, from carriers to dreadnoughts. Every ship gleamed with victory, their shadows stretching across the void. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy was silent. Inside the Galactic Council chamber, the delegates no longer mocked, no longer sneered, no longer laughed. They sat pale and trembling, their proud, faces twisted with fear, their voices lost. The insectoid leader who had once roared with arrogance now lowered his gaze, his claws trembling against the desk. His voice cracked when he whispered, "So, this is the truth of humanity. Admiral Holt stood tall, his hands clasped behind his back, his eyes sharp, his voice calm. This is the truth you refuse to see. You laughed at us, called us fragile, called us prey. But today you learned what humanity truly is. No delegate dared to reply. Some looked down in shame. Others stared blankly at the wreckage flickering across the holographic screen. On the human flagship, Captain Rivera sat in her command chair, her eyes steady, her crew quiet. None cheered, none celebrated. They simply breathed, the silence of victory heavier than the sound of war. Her second officer whispered, "Captain, it's over. They're broken." Rivera shook her head slightly, her voice low. "No, not over. This is the beginning. From this day, the galaxy will remember us." Across alien homeworlds, billions watched the broadcast. Civilians who once laughed at the stories of weak humans now trembled. Parents held their children close. Leaders hid their fear behind speeches, but in their hearts all knew the same truth. Earth had risen, and nothing could put it down again. In the council chamber, a feathered delegate tried to speak. Her voice, shaking, Will you conquer us now? Will humanity demand our submission?" Holt's expression remained firm, his voice steady. "We came here not to conquer, but to survive. But survival has a price, respect." His words echoed, heavy and final. The insectoid leader looked up slowly, his pride shattered, his eyes dim. "And if we refuse?" For a moment Holt said nothing. The chamber held its breath, then Rivera's voice broke the silence through the holographic broadcast, sharp and cold. "Then you will see this fleet again." The threat hung in the air like a blade. No one doubted it, no one dared. Back on the battlefield, the human fleet began to move, their engines burning bright, slowly turning away from the shattered armadas. Leaving wreckage drifting in their wake, they did not chase the last survivors. They did not destroy every ship. They had already made their point. Silence stretched across the void. The alien survivors, too shocked to move, too broken to fight, simply drifted, their comms filled not with orders but with whispers of fear. On one alien vessel, a captain whispered to his crew, "Do not fire, do not move. Pray they do not turn back." The humans did not turn back. They vanished into the stars, leaving only their shadow, a shadow that would never fade. In the council chamber, one young delegate broke the silence, his voice trembling. "What do we do now?" No one answered. They all knew the truth. The galaxy had changed, the balance of power was shattered, and humanity had claimed its place among the stars. Admiral Holt turned, his voice calm, almost quiet. But every delegate heard him clearly. "From this day forward, you will not laugh at Earth again." He walked out of the chamber, the doors closing behind him, leaving the council in silence. On her flagship, Rivera finally leaned back, her eyes closing for a moment, the weight of the battle pressing down. "Not as triumph, but as responsibility," she whispered almost to herself. "Now they know. Now they understand." Her crew remained silent. No cheers, no victory cries. They understood too. Humanity's fight had never been for glory. It had been for respect. And now that respect had been taken, earned with fire and blood. Across the galaxy, news spread like wildfire. Entire worlds whispered the same words. Words once said with mockery, but now spoken with fear. Humans. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath, the silence deeper than any sound. The galaxy that once laughed now trembled, and in that silence, humanity stood tall, their fleet burning bright across the black void, the message carved into history forever. "Now, you take us seriously."